Hi guys, very good morning. I'm so sorry I didn't do any Sunday live yesterday, so this is going out today to make up for the fact that I was not going live yesterday. I'm actually in Seville airport right now on the way to go to Frankfurt. I've got my boarding pass, I got my passport and my cute little Hampton coat, you know, slightly naked. I can't use this in the Middle East. Anyway, so I'm on the way to go to Frankfurt for the book fair to talk about my book. But anyway, I just want to share something with you today. So as part of my goddess belief in life and you know, in my life philosophy, I think it's very important that wherever I go, I try and fit in with everyone, I try and appreciate their culture, I try and, you know, learn everything there is to know about them. And this is one reason why I speak so many languages. And of course, I learned Spanish a long time ago via books. I didn't have many Spanish friends, I didn't know anyone who spoke Spanish. I was learning it in Singapore, I think. And of course, the books were from America, so they were very much geared to the pronunciation of the Latin American. Now, coming to Europe, we all know, everybody thinks Spanish is very much like the Barcelona way of speaking Spanish, which is with the th sound. They say Barcelona, everything with the lisping sound. I kind of don't really, I can't really say this lisping. I find it really weird that I'm trying to lisp when I know half the world speaks Spanish without the lisp. I really do love the Latin American Spanish. I think it's so beautiful, it's so relaxed. But in Spain, they actually do Andalusian Spanish. Andalusian Spanish is where they say something like, you know, hasta luego in Latin America is, in Andalusia is ta luego. They drop the has and they pronounce the ta. And instead of saying luego, they go luego. It's really short, it's really curt. So I find that, you know, learning to live in a new country is about completely learning the language too, which I'm really excited about. I've not gotten myself a teacher just yet, I've only been here 3 weeks. But yeah, you know, when I go out and I'm trying to pretend that I'm local, I go, hola, and here, they drop a lot of the Andalusian, the Andalusian Spanish. Very much to me is like in Scandinavia. My husband is from Denmark, and Danish, Norwegian and Swedish are really similar, except the Danes are considered the Spaniards of the Scandinavians because they swallow a lot of their words. And I can kind of imagine, like in Denmark, for example, the word chocolate, right? In Norway and Sweden, they pronounce it the way they spell it, which is chocolada, right? But in Denmark, they actually drop the D and it's pronounced chocolate, the joke and and there's so many things. My husband's name is spelled Anders, or Anders. In Norway and Germany and Sweden, it's pronounced Anders. It's spelled that way and it's pronounced that way. But in Denmark, they drop the D too, and his name is pronounced as Anders. You know, they don't say, so it's almost like it's A-N-N-E-R-S. It's the same in Andalusia. The Spanish is really quite different. So for example, what is it? So muchas gracias. In Barcelona, they pronounce it as muchas gracias. Gracias, right? But in Andalusia, they pronounce it as mucha gracia. Mucha gracia. And so the few bits of Andalusian style Spanish I've been using, I think the locals probably thought that, oh, she can speak Andalusian, and that starts going off onto this whole conversation. And of course, my Spanish is limited to, you know, basic conversational Spanish, and of course it's the Latin American way. There's actually a lot of Latin American in Andalusia working here, so when I do meet them, it's quite fun to practice my Latin American. You know, of course, like Latin American is like Mexican Spanish, Puerto Rican, you know, kind of like the Bolivian Spanish. But here, when I do speak Spanish, they ask me, are you Latina, Americana? They're like, I said, why do you ask me that? I said, because your Spanish is Latin American. So it's kind of interesting. So anyway, this I just want to share with you. Learning Spanish is interesting because I think languages, just like English, you know, you have Australian English, you have American English, you have British English. Even, I mean, in India or what you call that, Jamaica, it's still English. I'm not discounting these languages. They are still English, except they are pronounced differently. They have their own colloquial pronunciations and things like that. I think that's the beauty about languages. I know if you learn languages, tell me what languages you speak. I want to know, and how do you go about learning them? And you know, and do you think, you know, learning good language and learning how to communicate is part of being a goddess in your goddess life? Let me know. I want to hear from you now. I need to go and catch a flight. That flies that way, so let's hope it's not delayed, because I'm taking Ryanair for the first time today. Well, maybe it's the second time in my life I'm taking Ryanair. I've never really flown with Ryanair, and they're the only one available to go from Seville all the way to Frankfurt. Sevilla to Frankfurt, the German way. Anyway, have a good day, and if you haven't subscribed already, do subscribe and click like onto this video and press the bell button so you'll be notified every time I put a new video out. And I'll speak to you very soon.